Well, hello there, friends. So today I'm going to be telling you something maybe you don't know. And if you do, that's okay too. So here we go. So I've gotten a lot of comments about how do I charge for something or how much do I charge for something. And today what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to try to let you in on some secrets and some advantages and some things to give you confidence to turn a hobby into money. Or you can also go the other way around. Take the money and turn it into a hobby, but that's totally up to you. So the first rule of any business, anywhere should be, we love capitalism, don't we? Is to charge as much as you can, which is called charging as much as the market will bear. So what that means is if you think that you know what something might cost to have it done, or you want to charge your customer, is you go up on your price. That's the huge secret here. And a lot of people, you wouldn't believe it, but they don't have the confidence to do that. So what I'm telling you is that if you think that you're going to be charging $100 for something, you know what? Throw out $125. And you might surprise yourself. And I'll tell you what, my prices have doubled in about the last year. I'm laughing about that now because I can't really believe it, because I put this into practice. I had my menu in my head. Whenever somebody called me, they'd say, "Oh, how much for this convertible top?" or "How much for the seat repair?" And it was like me looking at a menu at McDonald's, right? You see the price up there. But then I stopped doing that. And I'm glad that I did. And I'm here to give you this advice. So, people, they have a different value of money. Okay, what you think might be expensive is not going to be expensive to somebody else. And vice versa. Okay, you might, just yesterday, I gave what I thought was, a pretty decent price on a motorcycle seat, and it was way too much for the guy. He's like, "Oh no, I can't do that. I can't do that." And then later on, the lady, she came by and she dropped off some patio cushions, and I'll tell you what, I threw it out there. I said, "Okay, this is my price," and for me, it's like an astronomical price, and I thought it was kind of high. I know it was really high. So I give her the price, and she's like, "Oh, okay. I just won't tell my husband about it." So I'm like, yeah. So score, right? So this is what you got to do, is throw out a high price, okay? Don't be afraid. Have the confidence to do it. Test the waters a little bit. You might surprise yourself, I'm telling you. So now for rule number 2. Okay, rule number 2 is you can always come down on your price, okay? But you can't go up, okay? Here in Texas, I guess it's a thing with upholstery shops. People, they'll get a price, they'll have the work done, and then when they come to pick up the item, I've read this in the reviews of other upholstery shops in the Houston area, and there's a lot of reviews that say, well, they ended up charging me $300 more than what they said they were going to when I came to pick up my car. And so I think that's a thing out here. I would never ever do that to anybody. Gosh, my conscience wouldn't allow me to do that. But I'll tell you what, when you throw out a high price out there and the customer accepts it, or they accept it so easily, and then you think to yourself, "Oh man, I should have charged more than that. Maybe I'm leaving money on the table. And maybe I should charge her $300 more." She still would have said yes. Okay, so you're probably listening to this and you're probably thinking, "Man, this guy's out of his mind." But I'll tell you what, this is 100% true. First you gotta have the confidence in yourself to know that you can do it. Hopefully you have the reputation and the experience and the skill, okay, to be able to do that. If you're new to an area, people don't know who you are. That was me in a small little Texas town just about a year and a half ago. Nobody knew who I was. But you know what? I'm the only game in town here. I'm about 15 minutes from Texas' second largest lake. And out there at I call them the lake people. And, I hope they're not offended if they see this video, but I mean it in a good way. They've been my best customers. And you know what? I'm not taking advantage of anybody. I just want to make that clear. I'm just throwing it out there. And it's up to them to decide. Okay, once they decide, yeah, shake their hand, make that deal, right? Lock it in. And then what I always do is, when I make the appointment on my calendar, I write the price down. Okay, then the other thing that I do is, I made it a policy several years ago that I would take half down on every job. Okay, so somebody drops something off, I tell them, oh, it's customary to pay half down. And, just pay the other half when you come pick up the item. And they're always like, oh yeah, that's okay. So that's what I do, is I take the item, I get my half down deposit. Okay, that's money in hand. Okay, so what that's for, okay, that's not taking advantage of anybody. Because what that is that's buying my materials, and that's paying for my labor, the time that I spend on their project, all the way up until the time that I'm completely done. So if it takes me 2 weeks to do something, it paid me for that first week, right? And the second half of that, up to the second week, is when I collect the big price, right? I get the balance at the end. And everybody's always happy with that. Nobody ever questions it, ever, really. So, you feel comfortable in giving that a shot. The other thing is accepting credit cards. Okay, accepting credit cards. Some people, they say, well, I don't want to mess around with that or whatever, but because of the costs involved, the fees that they always tack on there. So what I do is I always notify them. I say, okay, if you're going to use a card, there's a 4% convenience fee. I think you probably see it up there somewhere. So it's a 4% convenience fee. Okay, and people, they're okay with that. I just let them know beforehand before I charge their card. And then what I'll do is I'll tell them what that 4% charge is added on to their bill. I always tell them so that way there's no surprises when they get their bill. They see an extra $5 or $6 or something like that on there. That's what it is. And once in a great while, I might somebody say, yeah, everybody's doing that. And then I'll say, yeah, even the gas stations are doing that. They have a credit price and they have a cash price. So it's the same thing. So you know what? People, they accept that. So go for it. Don't eat that 4% yourself. They're the ones that want to pay with a card. They have the option of paying cash. The funny thing is I never really accepted checks until I came to the small town, because personally I haven't wrote a check in like 15 years. Maybe you haven't either if you're in the city, but I'll tell you what, all the people in the small town, everybody writes a check. But luckily the bank is about 1.5 miles from me, so it's a little inconvenience. Cash is always king. Try to get the cash if you can. For me, that's the most convenient. Okay, because if I accept a check, I don't have immediate access to that money unless if I go to the bank, cash the check. Same thing with credit card. Okay, if you don't want to pay any fees yourself on getting access to your money after you charge the card, the Square, okay, not sponsored, they give you the option of 1 to 2 days transfer to your bank for free, and that's what I do, and it usually ends up in the account the next day. So anyway, always try to go for the cash. You can always ask your customer if they can arrange for cash. If they don't pay, if they pay by credit card for the deposit for the first half, you can always tell them, Would you mind arranging for cash when you come to pick it up? And most of the times they'll say, yeah, sure, I will. But even for them, they know they're going to get charged the 4% fee. It's more convenient for them to charge on the card. I know I use my card for everything because my card pays me cash back for everything I buy. So you know what? Everything goes on my card. So anyway, that's just me. So back to the original question was, people will say, how much do you charge for something? And I always put in the comment, well, that's going to depend, because they're not here, right? They're in Oregon, and they're New York, or they're Florida, they're Mississippi, right? So I'll tell them, I'll say, well, it's going to depend on what it is that you have. It's going to depend on the guy that's doing the work, or gal. Okay, it's going to depend on their experience and skill level. Okay, the price is going to depend on the design of, say, the seat that they're working on. And it's also going to depend on the materials chosen. So you can see there's 5 different variables that work into getting a price together for somebody. And everything is different. People, they'll call me up and they'll say, well, how much to do this? And I'll tell them, I'll say, well, I need to see something. It's kind of like calling up your dentist and asking him, hey, doc, how much to fix my teeth? Well, he hasn't seen anything, right? So how can he give a price over the phone? Same thing with me. Not every car is different. Every truck is different. Every boat is different. Every motorcycle is different. So it's almost impossible for me to give a price over the phone. And here it's like, it seems to be like a customary thing where people, they'll say, can you give me a ballpark price? And God, that just gets me right here, because I want to try to do something for them to try to help them understand. But after struggling, I always tell them the same thing. I say, well, it's not fair to you, and it's not fair to me to just throw out a price out there that doesn't mean anything. I'm not going to throw a lowball price like some of these guys do, or gals. Throw a lowball price on your project just to get you in the door, and then raise the price a few $100 after you come to pick it up and pay for it. Okay, I'm not going to do that. So I pretty much always refuse to give a ballpark price until I actually get my eyes on something. Even if it means that somebody has to bring on their boat. It's a hassle for them to get their boat here. But you know what? People, they do it. As I tell them to. They bring it. Same thing with anything else. So I'll tell you what. I've never been comfortable giving those ballpark prices. And I really do refuse to do it. So my friends, I hope I've been helpful, and hopefully you can turn that hobby into money. And throw in your comments. Let me know what you think. Tell me about your experiences, charging a customer. Have you tried any of these tips? Let me know. Till next time, we'll see ya.